In a few days, Vishwas and I will be traveling to our 4th Making Love retreat in Switzerland with Diana and Michael Richardson. And I'm sitting here remembering the whole journey that started 5 years ago, back in 2011. And up until then, my view on sexuality had been quite different than what it is now. My shapings, the way that I was brought up was with a view on sex that it was pretty much just a physical act. And there was not much, emphasis, or there was no emphasis really, on the sacred union between man and woman. And because sex was more a physical act, it wasn't really, I didn't get the impression that sex was to, create love or create connection or, create intimacy and togetherness in a relationship. It just became, a satisfaction of an urge. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I just had a feeling that there must be more, I was longing for something more, let me put it like that. And it also resulted in me being very much focused on how to push, the right, or tune the right buttons in order for that person that I was with to feel most pleasure. And in the process, I lost connection with myself. I lost connection with my own body and what felt good to me. And it did result in me having, painful intercourses, having discomfort during intercourse, and I was just not able to voice it. I couldn't communicate it. I didn't feel that it was right to communicate it. I felt that something was wrong with me and that I should not interfere with that other person's pleasure. I shouldn't bring all my problems into it because those were my problems. And why would I bother somebody else with that? Basically, I didn't, feel worthy, honestly. And that's a lot of load to carry. And I also was, scared that the other person would find me boring, not interesting, not sexy, not attractive. So I was a lot in my head and not very much in my body. So when I met Vishwas back in 2011, I had already started a journey a few years prior to that of reconnecting to my own body, of rediscovering, my own body in a more pleasurable way through tantra. And I realized at that point that the whole cultural pressure, the view that, that was around sex was prohibiting me from really connecting to myself. And I knew I wanted more than that. And I knew that I wanted to feel myself, and I wanted to rediscover for me what sex was all about. And I wanted to be more and more able to let go of that, cultural view that has been sort of absorbed in me since childhood. And I definitely knew that I wanted more pleasure. And I wanted to focus on my pleasure, not only on the pleasure of the other person that I was making love to. And of course, Vishwas was very much interested in going there with me, but we were sort of like, two strangers on a, unknown planet. We had no idea exactly how to communicate about that. The only thing that I knew that I was able to do was to say, go slow, slow down. And I just kept saying slow down. And I didn't actually even know what it meant. I just knew that, to some degree, it could be even no movement at all, because I really needed, a chance to tune into my own body and to feel what was going on, because I had been disconnected for so long that I was not able to separate what I was feeling and what was something that I was putting upon myself to pleasure the other person. So it was a lot of expectations towards myself, a lot of expectations towards Vishwas, and obviously he was coming from, a very different approach, because he is from India and I'm from Denmark. So culturally we are very different, and he was caught up in his own ideas about what it means to be, a true man, what sex is really about and how sex is supposed to look like. So we were both struggling, and luckily Vishwas, he took the cue of going slow, and he one day came with the book called Slow Sex by Diana Richardson. And he gave the book to me and he said, "Can you please read this and tell me if this is what you mean?" So obviously he has read it already. And I said, "Yeah, sure, I can." And I must admit, I was a bit skeptical. And I think partly because in my head there was this notion that, you're supposed to know about sex already. But I don't know from where that's actually coming, because it's completely bullshit. But I was very willing to try everything. So I read the book, and I could have cried. I actually did cry because here was a woman who so eloquently had put into words everything that I really was longing for. It was as if I was giving the Bible to, tune into my own body and to feel more pleasure. And we immediately had to try it, of course. We also realized then that they were having these, retreats, the Making Love retreats. And we were so eager and we wanted to attend immediately. Unfortunately, there was and still is, a long waiting list to get in. So it wasn't until a year later that we were actually able to attend. So in the meanwhile, we did our best with the book, and it was great. It was fine. I really needed more guidance, and so did Vishwas, because to learn a completely new language, it's a big task. So I really needed more guidance, and I needed to be around people who wanted to explore that there was more to sex than just a physical act. And I needed a mom. Basically, I think that's what I realized that I found in Diana. I found, the mom that could tell me about sex. That I had always wished that I would have been able to hear those things. So when we finally did attend, the first Making Love retreat, it was a game changer, and it really infused our love life with something completely new that we had not been able to absorb from the book alone. And that doesn't mean that everything hereafter just became, rosy red and all roses, but it did give us the incentive to continue, because it is a lifelong discovery, I believe. If you really want to move into the realms of intimacy, it doesn't happen overnight. And because of the world we live in, we are constantly taken away from our body. Our attention is taken away from the body and focusing outwards. And here you really have the approach of constantly turning the view back into your body, and how do you feel in your body, and how does this make you open or not open. So when we are able to let go of all the roles that we think we're supposed to play and really just be present in our own bodies, it just changes the quality of lovemaking. And then it doesn't become about knowing the right buttons to turn on or turn off, but it becomes about deeply connecting. It becomes about sensing each other through a layer of love and presence. And this is one of the gifts that we have discovered. And it has given us a lot more freedom. We are now able to communicate about what happens, in our own bodies and what happens between us, because we have chosen to get off the performance mode and really sense what it is we feel, what is here and now, and not be worried about what we think we should be feeling. And so this Thursday we're leaving for our 4th Making Love retreat, and every time we go we get new insights and experiences, and we are thrilled because we have been approved as teachers of the Making Love Retreat by Diana and Michael Richardson. So we will be starting to have these retreats in Denmark. The first one will be in October, 7th till 14th of October, and we will keep it at the Møn Retreat Center, and we hope to see you there. Now, just a word about Diana and Michael Richardson, because they are really pioneers in the field of conscious loving and sexuality, and they've been running these retreats in Switzerland for more than 20 years now. Actually, they've been running them in different areas of the world as well, but now they are only giving them or presenting them in Switzerland. And then they have a few approved teachers, I think 8 couples or so, to run them, different other parts of the world. And we will be having them here in Denmark, and maybe they will also come to Sweden or Norway eventually, because we have the possibility to expand that. But for now, it will be in October in Denmark, and we will have a free intro talk on June 3rd, which will be here in Solbliss on Vesterbrogade in Copenhagen, and we would love to see you there. In this talk, which will be around an hour, we'll start at 3 o'clock, so it'll be around from 3 till 4 o'clock, we'll talk about the basic foundation of the Making Love Retreat, which is the genital intelligence. So we'll really sink into and find out, what does it actually mean that the genitals have intelligence? Because that's, for many people at least, a very unknown concept. And once we realize that our bodies are actually able to communicate without us actually doing anything, but just simply by tuning in and feeling and letting that sexual energy move through us, we can actually experience a lot of pleasure and a lot of enjoyment. So we'll talk about that 3rd of June in free intro talk. We do need you to sign up if you decide to come. It's free, but we just need you to sign up so that we know there'll be enough space. And you can do that either by emailing us at solbliss@solbliss.dk, or you can give us a call. I will put both the info for the phone and the email address. I'll put it underneath this video. So just let us know if you're coming. We'll be loving to see you there.